What if the biggest shift in how customers discover products isn't happening on Google anymore? It's happening inside ChatGPT, Perplexity, and AI shopping assistants. And what if getting featured in the media is exactly what helps you show up on those platforms? My guest today, Gloria Chow, is an award-winning PR strategist who has helped small product-based businesses earn over a billion organic views and land features in Forbes, Vogue, Oprah Daily, and more without pay to play, big budgets, or insider connections. She's here to show you how visibility in the press and visibility in AI search are more connected than you think and what you can do about it right now. Welcome to She Sells Differently. Gloria, welcome to She Sells Differently.
Yay, thanks for having me. I'm so excited about today's conversation.
Yes, I want to dive on in to this because this episode is so exciting because we have not talked about this on She Sells Differently. And so you built a PR methodology that's gotten small product brands featured in Forbes and Vogue and Oprah Daily without a big budget. And so for someone that is listening that has never really thought about if, PR being for them, what would you say is the biggest misconception?
Yeah, I will say that traditionally PR is like you think it's like for celebrities or politicians.
Yeah.
And I live in New York City, and so the average cost of a PR agency is anywhere from $5 to $10,000 a month for 6 months. So of course, as a product owner, you thought it was either off limits to you or just not something that you could ever do. And this is by design, right? The industry has profited off of these things, and it's my job really kind of as a disruptor. I am always a very unconventional person, to make it so that the rest of us can be seen, because I don't think that it's fair that you know it's only reserved for big brands. And we are at a beautiful moment in time where it's never been easier to get featured because of these free AI tools that does the research, the brainstorming, and the fact that we just need to know that there's never been a better time. It's never been easier, and we are at a point where now AI is the new storefront. So
Mm.
800 million users in ChatGPT can one click check out in app. We know that ChatGPT has integrated with dozens of tools like Amazon, Etsy, Shopify, PayPal, and it's only going to continue. And so the future of shopping is actually here, right now. People are literally opening up their AI and asking, I needed the best housewarming gift for this person. And traditional SEO is dying as we speak. So no longer will people maybe Google and get things from 10 different places. They're just going to go to their AI, and that's only going to increase exponentially. If you look at your own adoption of AI and how much you've used it, you can understand how quickly this is happening, right? So if you're on Shopify, if you're on whatever, the question is no longer, how can I get more followers? Or how can I run better ads, or which farmers market should I go to? It's, how do I get in front of this generation of customers who are asking AI? So that's the real flex. And here's the thing: if you are not being recommended, or if you're not even like being mentioned in the LLMs, which is large language models, then you're just invisible to the
Mhm.
next generation of shoppers. And we don't want that for you. So I'm really excited to dive into all of the ways that anybody who's not even tech savvy, you don't need to be a tech person, you don't need to know AI prompts, that you can leverage these free AI tools to absolutely get featured in the media. And this is why we know that ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, they're pulling from PR features as a way to recommend people. So you might be thinking, well, is it a popularity contest? Is it ads? No, they're literally pulling from credible press mentions as the number one trust signal on deciding who to recommend. So if your product is not recommended in media, like a gift guide or a roundup, then the AI has nothing to pull from. Zero. So that's
Wow.
really what this episode is about. So I'm so excited.
I love this. And I bet people listening are like, their mind is just blown because you just said like a soundbite right there. You were like, if you are not getting recommended in AI, then you are invisible to the next generation of shoppers. And so let's set the stage there. When we talk about AI shopping being the new SEO, what's actually happening there? What's going on there?
Yeah. So I know that there's, for people who are not techie, there's a lot of things being thrown around. There's AEO, there's GEO, there's SEO. And
Yeah.
and all you need to know is that Regardless of all the terminology, is that the traditional way that people discover your product has fundamentally changed. So traditionally, right, you use a Instagram or a Pinterest, whatever, for Google for a discovery platform, and then people make a decision. But what AI has done is it's taken the consumer from discovery to decision to checkout in one platform. So that's the most powerful way that I can explain it. So whereas social media is for just one piece of it, whether it's discovery or whatever, that validation piece, that decision making piece is happening with AI because we just trust AI to give us objective answers, right? It's just so much more powerful than me maybe looking at three people's blogs or whatever. And so how do we feed the machine, as I call it? And we know that it takes structured data. So what is structured data? It's something that's clear and it's coming from a trusted source. And nothing is more trusted than getting featured in a blog or a gift guide or a roundup. And it's not just like, oh, I need to be in Oprah. Right, we've had a lot of candle makers, like I told you, got featured in today's show. That's great, but we need to consistently feed it information. So that's your small blogs, could be your micro niche, back to school blogs. So don't discount those, but it's also podcasts. So it's really not just one or the other. It's how many backlinks, how many features can you get to consistently feed the AI machine so that you are higher and higher and higher in the discovery. So no, traditional SEO is not dead. We are still going to, Google and stuff like that. But the way that people make decisions has fundamentally changed. And so
Yeah.
we know that people trust AI recommendations 3 times more than any ad you will run. That's just fact. And they trust that more than social media. They trust so we know that trust is there. And so why not just meet the customers where they are when there is trust and they're ready to buy? And that's showing up in AI engines. The best thing about PR is that it's feeding all of the engines at once. So it's feeding your traditional SEO, your Google, your Bing, your Yahoo, but it's also feeding the large language models, the ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So if I'm a busy candle maker and I got so many hats, I got kids at home, what is the one leveraged activity that's going to check all of those boxes at once? It's PR because it
Yeah.
simultaneously does all those things. And you can make a reel out of it. You can repurpose your PR feature into ads, into reels. But without that validation of someone else mentioning you in their article, in a gift guide, then you simply don't have any information to feed the decision makers who are going to decide whether or not you're, like I said, visible. And here's one thing. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about those like get featured in pay to play? If you're multitasking, like, come back to me. So I get those crummy DMs all the time,
Yes.
right? Let me feature you in a district. So that's not what I'm talking about because those things are advertising middlemen parading as PR.
Mm,
But then what you're basically doing is you're running an ad and paying an upcharge when you can run the ad yourself. So there's a lot
oh,
of nuance, there's a lot of like muddy waters, but those pay to play logos, pay to play things, that is not editorial. That's advertising content and it does not have the SEO or AI visibility juice. So stay away from those. Now, I'm not saying don't do paid media, right? Ads work, influencers work, but none of those things are feeding the machine that's going to give you that long-term visibility that's working for you while you're sleeping.
wow. Yes. I get those all the time too. And I've never utilized them, but I've always been curious if that's the same thing from a PR standpoint, if they actually work. And so that's really good feedback. So before we kind of dive into like the more tactical piece of it, I'm curious when someone types in like best handmade candles for gifting into an AI like ChatGPT or Claude or something instead of Google, how
Oh,
does AI actually decide what brands surface? What are they pulling from?
yeah, they're pulling from press features. So there's different ways it feeds the machine. Obviously, every single large language model is different. I'm not inside the brain to know exactly, but we've done the research. We've actually asked the models, like, what are you pulling from, right? And so it's a amalgamation of things. So it's trust signals from Reddit threads, from for consumer sentiment. It could be your reviews, it could be blogs, it could be whatever it is. But all those things are much less credible and less powerful than PR. Let me tell you why. So a lot of people are like, oh, Reddit, Quora, like, that's consumers talking about you. Yes, but the large language models, the AI are smart and they know if you're just like enlisting a fan of 50 people to like create Reddit profiles and posting, right? So they look at recency, they look at how long the Reddit profile has been there. So again, it's not so easy to game. And you might say, okay, well, I'm just going to use AI to spit out 500 blogs. And it's like, well, the good old days of blogging is over. I think that when you started in 2000, that was the time, right? But
Yeah.
now, again, the AI is so smart, it knows when you're keyword stuffing. So it's not to say that it doesn't work, but if you are only relying on those as a strategy, it's going to take you a very long time. And the reason why right now, and I'm getting like so like juiced up while talking about this, like, is that we are in such an incredible inflection point in commerce. Because if you think about traditionally who gets more sales or who gets in front of customers, it's the people who scream the loudest with ad dollars or people who have the most popularity, right? And for the first time ever, you cannot buy your way to the top of ChatGPT. Now, we know they are
Mm.
debuting ads, but it's still very new. And we know that Claude from Anthropic is not doing ads. So there are AI models who are just rejecting ads as a model. And it's not about your popularity or how many people you have on TikTok. So if you are someone who's listening to this, that's like maybe you're camera shy or you're not gonna, buy into this whole like TikTok thing, like this is for you. This is your chance to be able to compete with the big brands and get featured. And there are gift guides all year round. I think the PR industry has made it seem like it's so rare and you have to pay them so much money. But there are so many bloggers, writers, editors, podcast hosts who are looking for products and they don't need a middleman to like make an introduction, right? If you make a candle, if you make a bath salt, I don't need your publicist to tell me. You can just literally write an email, a cold pitch, and if it fits, they're going to publish it. And it's great if you're an introvert too, because it doesn't require an interview. You don't have to get on the phone with them. If
Yeah.
your cold pitch has everything that the editor needs to go live with it, boom, it's going live. You get that link, it's driving traffic back to you. And then you just create a system in your business to do it, whether it's for 10 or 15 minutes a day, every day.
That's amazing. So how let's dive into a little bit more of the tactical piece. Like how do you actually find these opportunities? What would be like the first step?
Yeah. So really quick, like marketing is you talking about you and PR is other people talking about you. And that's why
Okay.
PR is the number one resource and source because it's a little bit harder, harder.
Yeah.
But I don't think
Yeah.
it's harder because after you listen to this, you're going to realize how easy it is. So if we want to be cited on other people's platforms organically, not pay to play, right? That's going to give us all the SEO and AI visibility juice. So how do we do that? PR is really simple. It's two things. It's learning how to write a relevant pitch and sending it to the right person. That's it. It's just writing a
Yeah.
pitch and sending it out. It's still cold pitching. People are looking to write products all year round. It's not just Q4 holiday season. There are gift guides for the friend you miss like hell. There's a gift
Mhm.
box for the newly divorced friend in your life. There's all kinds of like quirky ones. And then there's like the Mother's Day, the Father's Day, and then the evergreen like gifts for her, gifts for him. So just know that there's so many days where you can get featured all year round, not just Q4. That's the first thing you need to know. Right. So now that you know there's opportunities all year round, how do you get it? So the first step is writing a pitch. And I know that sounds very intimidating because we don't do that and we don't know the journalists, but this is how it gets done. If the journalists were only writing about products they know, they probably would run out within the first month. So
Yeah.
they actually depend on you to not write about the same boring big box brands. They actually want to feature makers and creators. And I think we're in this beautiful moment in history where we want to shop small. And that's like the cool thing. We don't want to go to
Yes.
Macy's and we don't want to go to so you are kind of riding this wave and you just need to know that. You need to know that you're doing the editor and journalist a favor because they just need to write it and they are in the role of discovery. And you are simply
Mhm.
helping them discover new products. So you need to pitch and you can absolutely do it. But I know it's uncomfortable, right? So what is a pitch, right? A lot of times we think, well, I'm just going to pitch them all the pros and cons and benefits of my product. But this is where people get wrong because journalists are not going to buy from you. So what you don't want to do is pitch to them like your customer.
Mhm.
So if you think about what journalism is, right? They're not talking about benefits and features. They're not deciding what to buy. They want to know, is this relevant for my audience right now? So if you have something that's like a body butter and it's really heavy, it's probably not great for spring and summer, but great for winter. Or if
Mhm.
you have something that's a pickleball set or something it could be for like, summertime. So you might have 60 products, SKUs, whatever, or you have one product that you can adapt. So there's so many different ways. And you might be thinking, well, how do I know? Well, this is where this is so interesting because at the time of recording, there's free AI tools that are so advanced, it actually helps you do the brainstorming, decision making, and writes the entire email for you. And this has never really happened because honestly, Andy,
Yeah.
for 5 years, I've taught people this that they had to kind of do on their own, but now AI does it for you.
Yeah. Wow. Makes it
So
easy.
it makes it so easy, right? Because we're like, we don't like you might be listening to this and you're like, okay, that's great, but like, how do I, what is the angle? What is relevance? So there's a tool called Perplexity,
Mhm.
perplexity.ai. What I love about it is that it's free and you don't have to upgrade and you can still get all of the benefits. And we've taught this to hundreds of people in our product community. And you might be thinking, well, why Perplexity? Why not ChatGPT? So ChatGPT is great for synthesizing information. You give it something and it spits it out, kind of like a pasta shape maker, right? You give it a shapeless piece of dough, it spits it out whatever you want. So that's what ChatGPT is good for. But ChatGPT is not great for going out into the field to find out what is relevant, what is happening, what are the discussions happening in the Reddit threads, all that stuff. So Perplexity is an outward tool that goes and searches what people are covering, what are the consumer trends. And the reason why we want that is because that's what editors want to cover. They want to cover what
Yeah.
consumers are looking for. So instead of you saying, "Oh, my candle is great and you should, write about this," you can say, "According to Etsy, candles that double as vases have increased 300% in search volume." Do you see how that's such a better opener for your pitch, right? Or
Yes.
we have someone who makes canvas tote bags. So many tote bags out there, but instead of being like, "Here's why you should buy my canvas tote bag," we said, "According to Vogue Business, searches for all canvas totes, all-purpose totes have increased 300%, and that's why our utility bag is perfect." Boom, boom, boom. So that way of positioning your pitch is rooted in facts, rooted in what people want, not you saying you think it's what people want. You're saying people are already looking for this, or it's
Yeah.
pickleball season and pickleball has increased 3,000% in the US or whatever. Like, so that's what Perplexity
Yeah.
is so good at doing, finding the relevant stat, trend, report, whatever. And so let's talk about, and if you're multitasking, come back to me because I'm sharing the gold here, which is what is the prompt for Perplexity, right? You don't need to be a prompt engineer. I'm certainly not one. And you can literally type in to the chatbot, my name is Andee Hart. I make XYZ products. Here's my website, www dot whatever. Please scan my website for context and imagery and give me the best editorial angles so that I can be included in a gift guide. That's it. Boom. Within 1 second, it comes up with all of the angles. It's scraping not only your information, but matching what your product has to what people are talking about in the ethosphere. So you might have a bath and body product, and out of all your SKUs, it might be saying, well, there's a self care mom trend, whatever, right? Or people are moving away from bath bombs and they're looking at like edible beauty. Whatever that trend is, you're going to be able to find it. And then that way you can find the angles. So I feel like for a lot of people, they don't know what the angles are or they're too close to their product. And this is what a
Yeah.
PR agency would charge you $5,000 for, which is to brainstorm and come up with angles. Well, I'm not going to pay a PR agency if I can have
Yeah.
Perplexity scrape the internet. So that's the first thing is find the angles, find the relevant trends.
Yeah.
And then I might give you 5 to 10 different things. The second prompt is, okay, please list all of these relevant editorial angles in a comparison chart so I can see what is the highest to least, most to least likely to get featured in an editorial. Boom, within 1 second, it gives you a chart and it compares what the angles are, what is the stat that you can include, and who it's for. So it'll say this is better for, like a Well and Good or a Marie Claire, or this is better for a niche blog. It actually breaks it down for you. And then after that, you can say, well, I like, I don't know, angle 1 and 3, right? And this is where it gets really good is now that I have this body of work, you can literally put into AI and say, please write this pitch using Gloria Chow's CPR pitching method and the LLMs just can write the pitch because I've taught this framework for so long. So CPR stands for credibility, point of view, and relevance, and you always want to start with relevance. And I taught this for 5 years. So I would do demonstrations, I would have workbooks, but now the AI already knows it, so it just writes it for you. So this is where I would stop though, because I will say that Perplexity is not a writing tool; it's a research tool.
Mm.
And it writes like a 12th grader delivering a science project, right? It's not how I would like I don't start and end with Perplexity. So I start with
Yeah.
Perplexity, I get what I need, it goes out into the field, and then I put it into my little pasta maker, right? My pasta shape, whatever, which is ChatGPT. So
Mhm.
using both tools, you basically are equipped with so much power and insight that you're able to know exactly what the editors are covering. So another way to use
Wow.
Perplexity is competitor analysis. You might be saying, well, I make this a lipstick, but I really want to emulate, this company that's doing really well. Can you give me the angles and the recent press features from this company? And you can do competitor analysis. So you can start to understand, well, what is this company being mentioned for, right? So there's so many ways for Perplexity to help you go outward and see what people are looking for, what editors are covering, and what is that
Yeah.
consumer trend and insight. Because you might think, well, this is the star of the show. Like, I'm going to pitch this
Yeah.
SKU. But then Perplexity tells you that people are actually looking for this instead. Then you know how to connect it.
We always have a personal bias too when it comes to our own products, you know? And so I think that's interesting. And something else that you mentioned too is, I talk about this from a wholesale perspective when we are writing pitches to retailers, that it's completely different to selling to a shop owner that's going to sell your products on their shelf than direct to consumer, right? And so I think that is so relevant here because you're talking about, sending a pitch to an editor is very different, and what you need to focus on and what they care about is different than writing, a product description for your Shopify site. And
Yeah.
so it's you need to be aware of that, and how you need to craft that. But I love that you can just go to Perplexity and it helps you craft it. It crafts it for you, you
Yeah.
know?
Because that's what journalism is relevant
Yeah.
trends.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna pick the right SKU for the right time, and, even if you make one product, you can adapt it to different things because what works for bridal season might be different for New Year's or for,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is different. So I think that traditionally we'd had to think about it and brainstorm, and now Perplexity does it all for you. And the
Yeah.
next thing I get as well, I don't feel comfortable, writing an AI pitch. This is not I don't want you to come away from this to think that I'm telling you to write an AI pitch. This is using AI tools specifically for research and
Yes.
relevant insight, not just copy and pasting the chat GPT. So this is very different. And so a lot of people are like, well, journalists don't like AI pitches. This is not AI pitch. This is getting the highest, most optimal, specific insight that you can pull into your pitch, right? So that's very different. And these tools just help us ideate in a much better way, so we can connect our products to what people are wanting, and that's what journalists want. So not an AI pitch, but it absolutely helps. And here's the thing: the journalist is writing the story. You're not writing the story.
Yes.
So it's absolutely okay if you use an AI tool.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that goes back to working smarter, not harder, using the tools that you have available to you. You can always craft it in your own tone and add your personal, words to it. So, yeah,
Yeah,
100%
yeah,
agree. So, next question I can just hear coming to mind is you've gotten this far. You have the pitch, you have the angle. How do you know who to send it to as far as, like, how do you find contact information,
yeah.
editor, all of that stuff?
Yeah, this is so good. So we talked about, how to use Perplexity to write your pitch. Obviously, I can't teach you everything I know in, 30 minutes. So there's
Yes.
but there's more nuances with like the subject line. You want to make sure there's not big attachments. You want to make sure you hyperlink and you have,
Mhm.
details about the price point, like where it's shipping from. Is it available at Amazon or on your website? So all those things enough for the journalist to just run with it,
Mhm.
without needing a lot of back and forth, right? You also want your subject line to be super optimized. Your subject line is what determines if it gets opened. So your
Mm.
subject line should not be, "Here's an idea for you, Susan," or "Here's my pitch," or, anything that doesn't make sense to the journalist, or, "Product idea for you."
Yeah.
So what you want the subject line to be, it almost should read like a title of an article, right?
Mhm.
3 unique smelling candles you can't find anywhere else for hostess with the mostest. Right? You see how
Uh-huh.
so that's the type of subject line, the specificity that we want. And here's a pro tip for your people, is something I say in my PR program as well, is before you send out any emails, use an email software. So that way you know if it's being opened, if it's being clicked. So we don't
Yes.
make a drama in our head of like, oh, this person hates me. And it's like, well, they just didn't open your email yet. And now it's so advanced. So you definitely want to have those analytics. They're pretty basic. They're pretty easy to have. I like to use a Google Chrome extension. So you can literally type in the Chrome store, for Gmail. There's various ones for you don't need like a HubSpot, which is very expensive. You can use something
Mhm.
that's like a very lower tier that just does the job. So let's talk about who to send it to. You can start your preliminary research with Perplexity, right? I do a lot of podcast research with Perplexity. I've been on over 120 podcasts, whatever. And so I would say, like, what are some of the other areas that I can talk about. Perplexity will help you do that. You can also do that with influencers. It also tells you like who's like the leading influencer in your four demographics, and it also can also break down the various media as well. They can say this
Mhm.
is perfect for apartment therapy. Um, but like if you make something that's like $300, it's probably not going to be great for apartment therapy because they don't do high-end gift guides. So that type of research you can absolutely do on Perplexity, but it's not a media database tool, right? In
Mhm.
our program, we have a database of 100,000 journalists with insight, but you can absolutely get started with Perplexity and it'll spit out 10, 15 different journalists that you can reach out to. But here's other ways you can do it for free. First thing is sign up for HARO, which stands for Help a Reporter Out. It's free. It pings you with 3 emails a day, up to 30 or 40 different requests from journalists. Now, they're not all going to be relevant to you, right? Sometimes they want to interview a cardiologist or a child development specialist, but they will have many gift guide features as well. It tells you the email, the timeline, the deadline, and it's very simple to respond to that. You don't necessarily need Perplexity for that. You can just respond to that yourself or using ChatGPT. Another thing that's similar to help a reporter out, it's called Peter Shankman SOS, Source of Sources. So again, it's an email that gets sent maybe 30 to 40 opportunities, and maybe five in there per day will be something product related. You can also sign up for Google News Alerts, and it'll ping you for all the articles written about in your industry. So if you make like, I don't know, like a pantry seasoning, right? You can see who's writing that, and it's as easy as clicking on the article and copying pasting the journalist's name and email into an ever expanding media list. So those are kind of grassroots way that you can start. Also on LinkedIn and on X, formerly Twitter, there are these hashtags you can follow. One of them is journal request, and that's when a journalist is requesting for someone to speak on a certain topic. They usually put that hashtag.
Hmm. Did not know that. I do subscribe to, Haro, yeah, help a reporter out. I should just go to call it that. And I have gotten some features on that, so that's really, really helpful.
Nice.
But
Put it
those
on your
are
press page.
yes, yes, those are, like, amazing, amazing tips. I would have never thought is it what was the hashtag? Journal
Journal request.
Yes, I'll put that in the
Yeah.
show notes. That is amazing. I would have never known that. These are such valuable tips. So, yeah. So cool. So, I would love to hear just a quick win. What is a product-based business owner who came to you with maybe without any connections or, a small budget or no budget?
Yeah, everyone our PR accelerator they're mainly women in their 30s up to we have someone that's in their 70s, not tech savvy at all, and they don't have a big following. A lot of them are single moms. They are overwhelmed wearing all the hats. They've never done PR, and they don't have a budget, right? And they all gotten featured. Usually, the average time to get someone featured is less than 2 weeks in our PR accelerator. But we have someone that we know, Mint, who is a candle maker, and we got her on Today's Show, and she sold out 100 units in the first hour. And so she's not a huge company, right? So it just goes to show that these journalists, these Emmy award-winning TV presenters, they are looking for small makers. And we're in
Yeah.
a really good time in the history of commerce where people want to feature smaller brands that have unique tastes on things, unique spins on things. We have a lot of people who do like Etsy stores and they don't even have a website, so they make handmade jewelry or something, and they get featured in Mother's Day gift guides. We have people who make a lot of women's apparel and things for postpartum. And they got featured in tons of those things as well. We have people who make subscription boxes, either with their own products or not, and they get featured in a lot of back to school and holiday roundups. So I would say there's just so many of them, and they don't have any PR connections. All they know is that they believe that they should be seen and they're willing to be the advocate for their own business. And I think a lot of times we kind of either want to delegate that to someone or we want to, pay. Like we had people, paying a PR agency 20 grand before they came to me. And it's just like, this is stuff that you can do, right? This is stuff that you
Yeah.
can do to pitch. You don't need an intermediary. And I've shown you throughout the course of this interview how easy it is to do that.
Yes, 100%. And I love that because when we first started talking, Gloria and I realized that she was saying she got someone on the Today Show, and Mint was one of my very first clients that joined She Sells Wholesale when she first started selling her candles. And now she has been on the Today Show thanks to Gloria, and she has scaled her candle company through wholesale and through PR. And so it is really just, in learning through entrepreneurship and through others, all of the different ways that you scale your business and working with so many amazingly talented people. Um, it is truly one of the funnest parts of entrepreneurship, just getting to meet other people that
Yeah.
can help scale your business. So very
It's
fun.
community, and I think in the age of
Mhm.
AI and machines, it's what keeps us human, right? By shopping
Yes.
small.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a
So
beautiful gift,
true.
and I know it's hard because I think for small businesses with tariffs and costs of goods and it
Mhm.
seems like the world is, like, collapsing around them, and it's so hard, but I think if there's one thing I wanna say to the listeners out there, even if you're looking at a huge hill that you have to climb, is that, like, you are the reason why we're still human, right? You are the
Yeah.
reason 'cause we look at these huge companies that are all monopolies, right? They are part of the system. But the small independent makers, they're the ones that are actually trickling down, and we know for a fact that they're the ones that are directly giving back to their communities.
Yes, for sure. So you also have a free masterclass called Get Your Products Recommended by AI. So walk us through what someone will learn inside and who it's built for.
Yeah, so, we talked a lot. I'm a fast talking, fast walking New Yorker. So if you're like, "Oh, this is really exciting," but
Love it.
it's, like, a lot, right? It's like drinking from a fire hose. That masterclass actually is a little bit longer, and I show you with an actual live demonstration, like screen share of Perplexity, and you see prompt by prompt it coming alive. You can watch it for free at gloriachoupr.com/masterclass. That's gloriachoupr.com/masterclass. And if you DM me the word Andy, I will give you an additional resource so that you can take your first step in getting featured and recommended on AI.
Awesome. Sweet. And I will have that link in the show notes so you can grab that. And then when this is airing, we are going to be just a few weeks out from the Product Seller Summit. So if you want to listen to Gloria's class as she speaks at the Product Seller Summit, you can grab the link in the show notes for that as well. And I will be speaking there too. And then as we wrap up, Gloria, if my listeners want to connect with you, if they want to keep learning from you, if they want to follow your work, where can they find you?
So definitely watch the free masterclass, gloriachoupr.com/masterclass. And then on Instagram, I'm at gloriachoupr.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your gifts of PR. And I am so excited for my listeners to continue to learn from you.